Far too often, LGBTQ plus business owners believe they have to choose between authenticity and being successful. Through these real-life stories, LGBTQ plus listeners aspiring for success can gain valuable insights to navigate their path to being both queer and successful. Hello, everyone. It is me, Hunter J. McNair, your hostess with the mostest, back again for this week's episode of Queer and Successful. As always, you can take part in these calls live every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern by visiting successfulcall.com. Now, this week, I'm joined by my good Judies, my good pals, Becca and Kim, who run a real estate team out in the northern part of the country. They are an amazing dynamic duo who have really, I would say, earned the right to market to the queer community in a really big way. They have been able to target queer people in their neighborhoods and convert them to clients, all based off their mission to create a safer space for queer people, as well as to create a loving and enjoyable experience for queer people. We had an amazing conversation. It's a great listen, so I hope that you enjoy. Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. Hi. This week, we are joined by my good Judies, my good pals, Becca and Kim, and they are going to be speaking to us today about how they have farmed the queer community to really create quite an amazing business. And I think what's going to be interesting about this conversation, and Becca, Kim, and I were talking about this before we got started, which is this is going to include some of the how-tos, but also going to include some of the whys, right? Because we have to be committed to the actions that we're taking when we're doing anything in business. And I think that you're all going to find some really, some good similarities between your whys and why you're doing things. And hopefully this will inspire everyone to get going. So with that said, why don't y'all introduce yourselves to everyone?
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Kim, and we are Kyer. Realty Group
With a couple little additions, finally.
Finally, we're growing, and all the good things.
You know, you just made me realize that Kyer is your two names put together. Like, yeah. I just got that. Like, this whole time I had no idea. I was like, okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Because when you said it in unison, I was like, wait, how long have y'all been in business together?
3 years?
3 years. Well, less than 3 years, because we'll have 3 years together in August.
3 years together in August, serving where?
Probably
more like 2 in actual real estate.
2 in real estate for sure.
Now, were y'all in business together before you started real estate, or what did you both do before real estate?
I've been in real estate. In November will be 14 years.
Okay. So we decided
right before I was doing massage therapy, and all the years before that, I've been in the hospitality, retail, restaurant, GM, district, regional type of positions.
The actual hard work.
A lot of work.
The actual hard work in life. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, let's get started talking about this. Like, I want to talk about a little bit about your story, right? You know, I know that you both have come together to really target the LGBTQ plus community. Tell me like the story behind why you decided that.
Yeah, that's you.
The story behind
why did we go that route?
Because that's who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen a need, and we've seen people treated the lack of respect, the lack of understanding, the lack of understanding our perception, because our perceptions are different, because we had to grow up different. We have to live different.
Yeah.
So to us, along with the stats of the queer community, is a community that owns the least amount of houses. They pay the most for their house, and their house is normally in a little bit less quality.
Yeah.
So
The NAR stats indicate that the queer population tends to buy homes that are older, in worse condition, and pay more money for them.
Yeah.
And in our market, where the cost of housing is so high because we are a vacation destination, sorry, Sasha just escaped. We realized that the need for representation within the queer community was that much more critical
Yeah.
than it would be potentially in other areas, just because of the cost factor. And so we wanted to be able to provide real estate services for people that truly need us,
and safety.
and safety.
Safety is so important to us,
Acceptance.
about the safety of who people are. And even in differences, difference doesn't mean wrong, different doesn't mean right, different does not mean good, different does not mean bad. It's just a difference.
Yeah.
And a lot of people look at it, the latter of what I just spoke about. And we want everybody to feel like they matter,
And they're seen.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that what's unique about what both of my team and your team does in targeting the queer community is that we're doing it from a place of wanting people to feel something that we want to feel, right? Constantly.
Accepted and loved.
Yeah.
Right. And and actually you mentioned some stats about homeownership with the queer community, and we're also more likely to pay higher lender fees and higher fees in the loan process. And I think that a lot of that even comes from, you don't want to shop because you don't want to have to come out multiple times to a different person, right? And you're always just taking the first person that accepts you for who you are, and you might pay more for that. And that's something that disproportionately affects our community and other marginalized communities as well.
For sure.
So when we started this kind of like, all right, we're gonna go all in on targeting the queer community, and we're talking about farming the queer community because y'all have done an amazing job with that. How do you approach like farming? When we say farming the queer community, like how do you approach that with like kind of that care, integrity, and authenticity, like without people being like, "What are you doing?
What are you doing? Why are you?
Yeah,
why
how are you doing it?" Yeah,
Right.
Who are you?
So, we viewed farming as our mechanism to come from a place of contribution.
Mhm.
Okay. To be able to speak directly to the people that need to hear from us and the people that ideally we want to serve. And so in this space of like care and authenticity and integrity, everything that we send out comes from a place of contribution. So our very first mailer that we sent to our rainbow farm was, how can we show up for you?
What can we help you with?
Where do you need us to be?
Mhm.
And actively seeking responses, actively seeking feedback in that space. And what we found is that our community responded. We sent out a get out to vote mailer during the election, not telling people who to vote for, but very clearly rainbow, right?
Right.
Very clearly in alignment, right?
Right.
But we talked about like, have a plan, make sure that you're registered, make sure that if you need a ride, you can call in and get a mail-in ballot. All of those things are very much in alignment with our core values, and we're trying to provide information to our ideal clients that they will see as timely, and they will see as this adds value to my life.
Mhm.
It's not just marketing, it's hey, we see you. And
Yeah.
so one of the things that we've added to kind of level up on our rainbow farm is we've started adding our rainbow business and allied business owners in our community. And we have them including inserts, and we put those into our mailers. So now we're directly bringing rainbow business owners to our rainbow homeowners, and we are the hub of that wheel.
Well, and actually what you're saying is making my brain process this, because I knew that you all, sent mailers out. You found rainbow, just so everyone knows who's listening. Essentially, I'm going to break this down.
Please do.
Yeah, you drove around and identified all the houses with some type of rainbow, pride, flag, etc. for, let's say, 3 hours. Was it 3 hours a day or a week?
It was 3 hours a night,
A night.
5 nights a week for 3 weeks.
For 3 weeks, for 3 weeks, and essentially you created an entire database of gay people.
Yes.
Right. Of people in the space. And so then you start targeting them through mailers. And I knew that part because I knew you had talked about that at Rainbow Camp last year. And what I find fascinating about what you're saying now is you're just taking a niche, right? You're just taking this specific segment of the community and applying the same rules that we tell other agents to do when it comes to talking to their database, which is find what's valuable to them and be the source of that information. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's the secret sauce, baby.
Yeah.
It's really, really easy.
Well, and you can do that at a higher level because you're being hyper focused
Yes.
on who you're
There's layers.
there's layers to it. And if you serve the people that you love, those people will also in turn recommend you and be like, those are the people you need to speak to. Those are the people you need to connect with. And even if it's not real estate, we have other people in the community that reach out to us because we have an entire list of vendors, and we'll get to this a little bit later, but an entire list of vendors that are affirming, that are kind, that come from contribution, that have ties within the Rainbow community. I never want to send somebody to a client's home to do a repair or a service and have them feel uncomfortable in their own space because someone we recommended is not safe for them.
right.
That's not okay.
Right. And that's the same way we've kind of, because we led with it from the very beginning,
Yep.
right? All of our vendors are like that. And so they come to us because they know that
They do.
who we work with, right, is vetted, and that we've done a lot of work with. Because I know there's going to be people who are probably thinking like, oh, I don't know if I could do that because I live, not in Northern Michigan, or, I live in Arkansas.
There's many ways to build it.
Right.
Just because it worked for somebody, it may not work for you, and vice versa.
Well, and out of curiosity, have you had any naysayers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
Tell me about them.
We have had, so very dear friend of mine, okay, and probably another whole conversation for another whole day, but I'm a late in lifer, okay? I literally came out like
She's
5 years ago.
COVID
Love
lesbian.
that.
I'm a COVID lesbian. I can't, I got U-Haul instead of long haul COVID. I got U-Haul COVID.
Oh, that's hilarious. I want to be a COVID lesbian.
Right? Everybody wants to be a COVID lesbian, honey. It's the thing. Anyway, so, my real estate business, being in this business for 14 years, everyone knew me as, married to a guy, 3 kids, house on the lake, 2 dogs, the whole thing. And I kind of took that life and kind of upended it because I was like, none of this is real. None of this feels great. And so a lot of my prior clients before coming out were like, nah, I'm good. And that was a big consideration, right? That was a big thing to navigate. Since then, even friends, that have known me before, that knew my ex, everything else, they're like, I don't know what I think about all this gay stuff. Like, why can't you just serve everybody? And the answer is we do.
Yeah.
We do.
But we're safe for people that need our safety.
We serve everybody, but we are fully authentically who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And
we don't fade.
And if there are people that don't like that, they're like, doesn't feel good. That's okay.
Right.
That's okay. We're not for everybody.
And I think, I've had this conversation a lot with people, especially in our community, who feel like they can't target the queer space because they believe that if they open a door for others, that they're automatically closing the door to others. And it's like, it's not an on and off switch where there's like, you're either 100% or not. Like, it's just doors, and you're just opening more doors for more people. I always joke and say that 80% of our business is LGBTQ plus, and 100% are allies and advocates.
Yes.
Right? Because it's all about people being a part of your culture and the business that you're creating. And people do it all the time with other things. You don't think there's a woman out there who has a business model around her soccer, her kids' soccer games? Like, they completely have businesses and niche farm and all of that stuff. It's just that when we're talking about queer spaces and queer farming, we're not talking about it almost because it's like somehow now taboo. And it's not the exact same thing other people are doing. And I know that you've both gotten deeply involved in your community even more, right? Since all of this, right? Like, I know you're doing Up North Pride and Old Town Playhouse.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Okay. Traverse City is a small, big town, or a big, small town. right? Whichever one you want to go with. And I will tell you that involvement and engagement in a established community with all the same players all the time, we do show up for the Old Town Playhouse in their annual fundraising.
Mhm.
That's about the extent of it. When it comes to Up North Pride, it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge. There are some folks on the board that have been there for a very long time, and they are very much
Set mindset.
a fixed mindset about how they want things to be.
Yeah.
We have a fabulous new executive director in Adrienne. She is open and inclusive and all about creating opportunities for everyone that wants to step in
Not
and be
just
part
people
of
that
it.
make 200,000 or more,
Not
you know,
not just
involving
people that
everybody.
that have certain opinions about certain things. And
Yeah.
let that stay there. We're moving on. But I will tell you, one of the challenges for me, okay, this is Kim being open and Kim being honest, is that I am not everybody's cup of tea.
Hey.
I am loud. I have opinions. I am passionate. People look at me and they're like, oh, she's too much. Yes, I probably am. But here's the thing. I am so intense and passionate about what we've built. You give me a millimeter to talk about it, and I'm going to run you for 10 miles barefoot. We're going.
Yeah.
Right. And so I understand that I am not everybody's cup of tea. But in the space of that, it has also probably created some roadblocks in that engagement, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes it harder.
That's just real. And
Yeah.
so that is, and then I have a habit when I'm excited about something, right, is that I flood people with it. I'm like, let me tell you all the things. I have to tell you all the things right now. You need to learn all of it, right?
You got Marge.
Marge is like,
Yeah, yeah,
me too.
Marge.
Yeah, high five from afar. So when you have that mindset, when you're excited and you're passionate about it, and you have a tendency to flood people, this is my opportunity to give a mad call out for my therapist, Gymnasty,
And that's when I slide in.
because she's like, reel it back in, Kim. Come on, like, come back, right?
Yeah.
But I had to come to the realization within myself to understand that I've probably did some flooding, if you will.
Like, you mean saturating the market with marketing?
No, I'm like overwhelming the people within those organizations with
Oh.
my intensity and passion and method of communication.
Have you ever done any type of theater or acting?
No, I was in a play in junior high.
Like,
I
I'm
was
a-
a bum.
Not gay.
I was a homeless guy in
So-
$1 private eye.
So I think I brought this up in the past, but in theater and even in any type of performing arts, right? Y'all know I do ballroom dancing.
Oh yes,
Oh,
Um,
Seen it.
we see.
Yeah,
we-
We see you in your glitter coat.
And my glitter coat. The thing
Your glitter
is,
coat.
it's better to over exaggerate something when you're performing because of two things. One, you're always performing to the back of the room,
Yes.
people who need to see you but can't see you.
Mhm.
And two, you can always tone it down.
Right.
Harder
Right.
to tone it up. So, oversaturating or being too much or having opinions or putting yourself out there a lot, no one is doing any of that, right? And so, like, all you're doing is setting your standard, and then people can either rise to that or they can not.
Right. Right.
So,
So in this space of our involvement,
mhm.
right, we realized that I was hitting some roadblocks. Rebecca's like, everybody loves me. I'm like, yeah, they do. Not so much me. That's okay. So what we did is we actually recruited one of our clients. His name is Frank. He is a retired nursing home administrator.
Okay.
He is charming. He is dapper. He is coiffed to a T.
Everybody look for your Frank.
Never met a stranger. He goes out to all these events anyway. And we hired him as our celebration ambassador. So he
Wow.
goes out and he does networking for us.
He has his
And
own
we
car.
buy his dinner and his glass of wine.
And he goes out every night.
And he goes out every night.
Wow. So
And
he
it gives him supplemental income. It puts someone in those rooms that has just been opened, just wide open, welcomed. And he's out there, pushing Kyra for us. And
But wait, does he work for you, or
he works for us.
is he an agent, or is he this like?
No,
He's our ambassador.
He's our celebration ambassador.
You just pay some.
All he does is go in top.
We give him $20 a night to go out and have dinner and a glass of wine and talk to people for us. It's the best win-win ever.
I
Times
love.
more, depending on where you're going, how long you're going to be there, you
For
know.
sure.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
in his tuxedo. He shows up in his Ralph Lauren.
Smite
It's a networking event specifically.
He goes to everything.
everything.
He goes to opera, he goes to plays, he goes to concerts, he
Trivia
goes
night.
trivia nights, he goes to anything foster, through the UU church.
Wow.
He, like, you name it, honey, he's there. He's like,
Interesting.
he's everywhere I want him to be.
So I mean, so now we've taken, and this is kind of what's fascinating, right? Is, you all started with a simple why,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And you said, okay, what's the first strategy we can implement and we can start doing? And then once we get that running and going, which is what you've done with your marketing and your mailers, and you only spent 3 weeks to get that data. Can we just say that again? We only spent 3 weeks to get that data.
3 weeks to get the data and like 6 months to get it all inputted. Okay.
Messed up. So
How
part
you
of what
messed
we
up?
train is get one quadrant done, put it in.
Wrap it in.
Because if you
Yeah,
look out and you're sitting there and you're looking at all this,
right. But now you're building out more strategies.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Adding on to it.
You
Layers.
get one running. You get one running. You're leading with revenue, I'm sure, as
Yes,
business comes in.
100%.
As business comes in, and now you're implementing new strategies.
Yes.
So I think that's a good lesson too. And actually our team was talking about, we're working on our 135s right now. Our team is.
Oh, Kale.
I want to be a Frank when I retire too, Kale.
Well, Kale, you already are a Frank, honey.
He kind of is.
Yes, you are.
So what we're talking about with like 135s is like with our team right now is we can create strategies behind what our priorities are, but sometimes you just got to start with one and then the rest will happen after that. And that's kind of what you're doing. You're just kind of building and building and building. Out of curiosity, since it's in the chat, what's the square mileage of your farm that you took on that 3 mile? I think
Initially,
yeah.
it was
township.
so it was our town. So we have our areas broken down into townships. I know that different, like down in Louisiana, they call them parishes, but here we call them townships. So we started with Traverse City proper,
Mhm.
and then we expanded to the next township and the next township and the next township and the next township, so that we've been increasing the radius,
Moving out.
moving out.
Well,
But we started in tight, and then we expanded as we go.
Well, I think that's exactly, I mean, that's literally the model you've been doing for all of it, right?
Yes.
Start small
Yep.
and build it up. I think that's really cool. So I've got now the mailer strategy. I've got the Frank strategy.
Frank.
What other strategies do you have right now?
Oh my
Relocation
goodness.
guide.
We have a lot. So,
The
after the
listing.
election, we
Mhm.
saw a lot of people that were popping up on the gay real estate websites looking to relocate.
Mhm.
And to me, that feels very passive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a passive, wait for things to come to me kind of person. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. I'm a go out and find it and bring it. And so I kind of started thinking about, and of course, poor Rebecca has to hear it on a nonstop loop. She's long suffering, and that's 100% true, putting up with my nonsense. But I wanted to create a mechanism in which we could go out and find those people and bring them to us instead of waiting for them to come to us. So we created a rainbow relocation guide
Right.
and ran this through AI to figure out what markets are seeing the largest percentage of queer people that are relocating out of red conservative markets into blue, more
More progressive.
more progressive, more affirming markets, right? And so we created a rainbow relocation guide. We literally just got them in, and we're going to be deploying those into those top 5 identified communities on a clickable ad. We'll have the relocation guide on one side of the ad, and then we'll have the My Family is Moving non-binary coloring book for kids. We'll offer those side by side. They click on them, they create a form, we reach out, we connect with them, we either onboard them as our client or we feed that referral back into our network.
Love
Because
that.
one of our kind of core values is that we want to keep queer money queer.
Hey.
So if we can do that by actually reaching out and providing, coming from contribution and providing a resource to these people that are making some of the biggest, most difficult decisions they'll make in their lives, such as moving your family out of an area to another area that's more safe and that can provide more joy and inclusion and all those other things, then why wouldn't we?
I love that. I mean, and part of your branding is even real estate worth celebrating, right?
It sure is.
And it's a joyful tagline. Like, how do you, all of these things sound amazing. They are amazing. When you weave, how do you weave that into like the day-to-day activity? Like, what does the day look like when you're doing this high level of queer farming? Is it just kind of like, I'm just working and I got everything on an automated system, or what's it
A
look
little
like?
bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of autopilot
But
now.
it's kind of fun to go out and watch the new flags pop up, watch the movement, because the movement's increasing.
Yeah. The movement of celebration.
And I mean, if you just go to and look at any of our marketing, part of our thing is the joy and the celebration and the inclusion. If you look at our marketing, look closely. Every one of our marketing has got Easter eggs in it. Every one of them.
From our website to our listing guides, to
Yep.
our staging guides, to our buyer's guides, to our coloring books, everything we have, we hid
Our
Easter
showing
eggs in it.
cards.
Our showing cards, we hid Easter eggs in everything that we did. And even like our holiday cards. Every year our holiday card is a different scavenger hunt.
Oh, wait. So, okay, when you're saying Easter egg, are you meaning like a clue to something, or is it
Yeah.
like, okay, what is it?
Something about us, something we've done, somewhere we've been,
Oh.
something we've helped,
So
something goofy usually.
we have all kinds of things. So if you go like to our website, okay, and you look at the photos that come pre-templated, took those photos out and we put in Kyra, we put in Sasha, we put in like pictures like of me kayaking. Like our Easter eggs are throughout everything that we do. Like Rebecca's thumb trophy, the big brass thumbs up trophy, which is a whole nother story for a whole nother day.
Okay. We got a lot of days we got to work on here.
We have a lot of
We
days.
got a lot of stories.
But we put these Easter eggs in because we know that eventually someone's going to trip over them.
Right.
Someone's going to trip over them. And when they do, they're going to start looking for more of them. And then that becomes an entirely different conversation, right?
Yeah.
So even like our writers on our signs, right? They're all like from Kyra's voice, lots of closet space for my puppy parkas, 4 bedrooms, 3 for me, 1 for you.
Ma, pool, grab my floaties.
Mom, pool, grab my floaties. Like all of our writers are fun. They're all Kyra.
Or Sasha and Kyra banter
We even have one that's very, very openly rainbow, right? It says, you bring treats, moms bring keys. So we really were intentional about all of it. Yeah. Because we want it to show up consistently. We want it to feel the same whether we're there bringing the celebration or someone's looking at something that they received from us and feeling the celebration.
Well, and I'm sure this is helping you also stay motivated to do the work. Just keeping fun. Yeah, just keeping fun in it. And actually, my team meeting is today, and we're actually talking about a scary word, which is discipline.
Well, I'm a sloppy worker. That is a bad word for me. Yeah,
discipline is a scary word, but discipline, and the reason I'm bringing this up even now is because what you're saying to me is like, we've stayed consistent and we've done this at a really high level, but the way we've done it has been through having fun and by doing things that align with who we are. And celebration, right? And joy. And discipline, I've been reading a lot lately, actually just equals the perceived value of achieving the goal, right? Which is like what, we're doing because we're wanting to target queer people and work with people who are like us, etc.
Right.
Plus how psychologically rewarding and engaging the process of pursuing the goal is, which is your joy, how you feel. I get a little thumbs up. How you are actually pursuing the goal and how you're making it psychologically rewarding, minus how psychologically unrewarding or costly it is. And you're essentially eliminating and saying like, listen, we have a really big goal that we really care about. We're going to make everything that we do with the process in alignment with not only who we are, but alignment with celebration and joy.
Yes.
and eliminate anything that would be psychologically not fun to do.
You're out of
And
there.
in turn,
And
you've been
you're
able
not
to
in the
help.
right mind frame.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes you need to sit down and digest where your mind frame is. If you're not having the celebration and the joy,
Mhm.
because if you're not feeling it, people aren't going to feel it, and people aren't going to see it, and that's what we stand for. That's what we stand on. So sometimes we need to sit down and have a hard conversation with ourselves. What's
Yeah.
going on? Why? What can we do different? You know?
Right. And what I have found is that when my energy and my focus shifts, the business shifts with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the most important real estate that I own is the 6 inches between my ears. Because if this space isn't right, nothing else goes right. We have been distracted by so many different things.
Yeah.
And the universe has this really funny way of like coming up behind us and like smacking us upside the back of the head and like, get your butt back in line. You know what your purpose is. You know what you should be doing. Get back into your role. Step fully into where you're supposed to be and quit focusing on these distractions that don't serve you.
And speaking of that, like, what do you think are some of the common missteps you see other agents who are trying to target the queer space? Let's spill the tea. We're all about spilling.
Oh,
You
honey.
already
So
named some names earlier, so you
I know we did. So here's some of the realness of it, right?
Yeah.
Because the second part of that is this idea around being performative, right?
Mhm.
And so when I think of performative, I'm gonna use the T word here, the
Uh-huh.
bullseye, right? We saw all of the pride stuff. We saw all the marketing with all the different body types and beautiful rich skin tones and the tapestry of what they were creating, right? But the first moment they had the opportunity to be able to step away from DEI, they did. And
Yes.
what that showed us was that everything that they did before that was 100% performative, right?
Mhm.
Now we got the ick, can't swallow that ick. We're like, target who?
Right.
And that's very much like how I feel about it. I think that we don't necessarily figure out if someone's being performative until the rubber has to meet the road and their actions have to match what they're saying.
Mhm.
Until
Yeah.
then, it's just stage lighting and curtains, honey. That's all it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the idea around like being performative and like guiding people, some people would look, we are the only openly marketed LGBTQIA plus real estate team in all of Northern Michigan. There are other rainbow agents here,
Mhm.
but we are the only ones that are like, we're here, right?
Raising our hand. We're right here.
So in regards to that, I'm sure that there are people in our market that view us as performative,
Mm.
right? We just marketed it. We made a big decision. We made a big decision in terms of safety, in terms of business alignment, in terms of vendors that we bring on. We made a big decision when we decided to pivot and go fully openly marketed rainbow, right?
We had to dig really, really deep for that one.
It was a big decision because especially when you have how many years of business before you that was Wonder Bread Mom, right? And now we're like, so there are probably agents in our market that look at everything that we do and think that we are 100% performative.
Because they jelly, they don't do half of it.
But they know who you are, and that's what
They
matters.
tell-
They know who we
Yeah, they
are.
do.
And you know what? As long as my name's coming out of your mouth, honey, I don't care if it's with an exclamation
Job
point
done.
or a question mark. I don't care.
I love
Just
it.
say my name.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying too is that, it's only performative if the intent is not there. Like if the intent is bad. Like, and that's why you see, the companies that have rolled back on their DEI initiatives, and we're seeing these companies that are pulling out of even just sponsoring pride events in our local communities.
Yep.
We're seeing now that like, okay, they were doing it not just in a performative way, but they were doing it because they were like on the bandwagon of like, well, everyone else is doing it, so I've got to do it. But they never actually cared.
They were never committed.
They were never really.
It's the idea of compliance versus commitment, right? Are you compliant in that this is what our customers expect from us, so we're going to do it, or are we committed in this belief system is going to show up in every incarnation of our business model?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the difference: checklist or heart.
Right. And I think that now, like, you're going to see the people who are actually, doing it like we're doing it are going to still keep doing it. And the people who aren't are going to just fall back into the obscurity and
For sure.
not be doing anything. And I think it's fascinating because I think like during the time in which we all were more comfortable 4 years ago, um,
You could breathe.
it felt like for us actually that for our team that people were like confused why we were doing what we were doing, and now they get it again.
Right.
You
Now
know,
they realize why it now more than ever, it is more important than it has ever been before.
yeah.
Because we have to be able to be identified. Our community needs to be able to see us and find us and rely on us.
No, definitely. I mean, it's wild times, I'll tell you that. And it's definitely trying to, be a voice for others and at the same time, like have a voice yourself. And that's a weird conundrum, like I haven't talked about this as much publicly. But I'll tell y'all in the queer and successful community that, come like, February, like when everything shifted, like I stopped getting opportunity in my space, like for speaking and being recognized or being asked to do things. And,
How was that for you? How was like,
I think what it is, I think if anything, it's like a reminder that, we have to, well, first of all, I always say, if me, the white man is having a hard time getting opportunity now, how is everyone else in the community doing? Right? Like, it's one of those things where it's less about me. For me, it's more about everyone else.
well, it's kind of a barometer, right? It's a barometer of the climate in which we're surrounded by. And
Right.
when we're able to see a shift in that barometer, we're able to see an opportunity to pivot and approach it potentially in a different way.
Right. And so it's more of just like it's more of like thinking about, okay, were things performative? Like you said, like were people just like bringing me in because they saw whatever, or was it because
No. Ew.
well, I mean, but
Yeah, I mean, I understand what, yeah.
no, I mean, here's the reality. Like when and we're gonna get off on a little bit of a tangent here.
Look at that.
But when the conscious mind shifts, right? The unconscious mind shifts with it. Meaning, I always say the best way that anyone can be an ally or advocate for anyone unlike them is to think about someone unlike themselves when thinking about opportunity. And what happens when we have these big conscious societal shifts is everyone goes back to forgetting about that. Right? Everyone goes back to like, okay, well, now I don't really have to think about anybody unlike me. I can just pick the person who looks and acts just like I do for any type of opportunity. And so I kind of call it like an unconscious apathy, if that makes any sense. And we have to like stay in this kind of conscious caring mode as both leaders, as entrepreneurs, and push through it and set the example of what we want to see. So, and I think that if anything, for people like us, y'all and myself and my team, any type of chaos like this is just opportunity for us to show up more. Right?
Absolutely.
To show up
Absolutely.
brighter and to show up brighter,
In every challenge, there's an opportunity. You just have to have the willingness
to see it.
Right. And
you yourself up enough to see it.
And you all have done an amazing job, like taking something that others would consider very like, oh, that's so strategy oriented. And that's so like, it's a lot of marketing and it's a lot of the strategy, but at the same time, making it very making it very fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's called owning your strategy.
And fully committing to it, right?
That's fully committing to it. And I've spoken about niche farming before, like on stage at Family Reunion, I've talked about that. And one of the things I tell people is you got to be willing to die on the sword, like fall on that sword, and that's like y'all said, you were very worried about committing full time to that venture. What would you say to people who are considering, this full on venture of either farming to the queer community or farming to any specific community? What advice would you give?
Choose what you're going to do and
choose what you're going to do.
Make a plan and do it.
Make a plan. And just full send.
Make a decision though.
Make a decision and commit to it internally, like at the core of your being. Because if you're not fully committed, you're not going to follow through. And if you don't follow through, you're just wasting your time. You have to like fully commit, right? And for us, okay, keep in mind, we just launched Kyer May of 2024. Okay. May of 2024. From May until November, we earned our luxury designation.
We earned it.
We earned it. We didn't buy it. We earned it. And then the winter, right? We spent leveling up, E to P, right? Learning all the things that we can. And then went back into this season with the goal to double what we did last year.
I love it.
And we're on track. We actually took our largest listing to date in my career in 14 years this past Tuesday. We had this wonderful opportunity to spend this time with you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
We are on the Housing Alliance call for the state of Wisconsin. We have just been blessed again and again and again in the fact that we show up for others, and we are seeing that others are showing up for us, and the universe is showing up for us. And that's a really incredible thing that reinforces that all the hard choices that you made as you were endeavoring to decide to do this great, big, crazy thing, the universe is like, you made the right call. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
Right? A pat on the back.
Well, energy, I always believe, because this is a theory of some type of physics, but what you put in, any energy that you put in can never be lost, right? It can always be converted or changed. And so the energy you're putting in is rewarding you.
It is.
You know,
it's also teaching us some hard lump lessons at the same time. we totaled Betty on Friday.
Yeah.
We totaled. Yep.
Oh,
yep.
no.
Yeah, we were in a crash on Friday.
Oh, no.
I will tell you, it could have gone, 10 different ways of worse, but the universe was like, you need a reminder.
Mm-hmm.
And from that reminder, we got at least 3 or 4 lessons from that. Like we were driving back home, we were 3.5 hours away. We were driving back home, and we got home and we kind of sat down. We call our sofa the incubator. This is where the best ideas come from. They're born here on the sofa. We call it the incubator. But we sat down and we actually had a full-on conversation about, okay, what were the positive things that came of this?
Yeah.
And how can we connect those dots? Within 5 hours of totaling.
And then boom,
totaling our vehicle, right?
Wow.
We only have one. We only have one Betty.
Well, and it's the power of mindset, like we mentioned.
It's the power of mindset. Right. And the biggest gift that came from that was seeing my mother in a completely different way. My mom turned up. And I was kind of worried, she's getting older. Is she okay?
She a beast.
No, she was like, I got this figured out in 6.5 minutes. This is what we're going to do. Go home. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay.
Well, and y'all talked about opportunity and how opportunity has poured into you both. And I always like to give people some of my own personal affirmations when I can, which one of mine is that opportunity comes to those who lead with their mission and their passion. And that's a reminder I tell myself, where it's if you focus on your mission and your passion and the things that spark joy for you and what you know to be right, then all that opportunity will just happen. You'll never have to worry about whether it's coming into your lap or not. I really appreciate that. Anything that's next for you both? Anything big coming up before we lead into some Q&A?
I kind of struggle. I was thinking about this, what's next for us and
what could be next for us.
Well, yes, 100% Rainbow Camp.
Rainbow Camp coming up. Yep.
Rainbow Camp's coming up. But I think in terms of opportunities for Kyer, if we decide to grow, if we decide to expand, if we decide
have a system in place
to scale, we're going to redeploy this same message, this same method a year before we even place an agent there, because we are truly, that is the foundational framework of which you can build anything.
Our system works. It has to be utilized.
And I think in the future, winters here in Northern Michigan are brutal. So one of the things that I think will probably be open to considering doing in the future would be to travel in our brutal winter season and go help other agents create this, set it up, plug it in, and get it up and running.
I love that.
I think that would be just a tremendous win-win, because it allows us to pour back into our Rainbow community and support fellow rainbow agents, and then in turn helping them by extension, right, invest in and bring up their community as well. And so maybe that's something, I don't know, but as long as we keep our eyes up and on the horizon line, we will always
Nothing's
see the
lost.
opportunities that are available to us. And
Well, and I love that, like, I love that you're thinking big. And I think that, again, just really, really hones in on how clear and focused you both are on what you're doing and why you're doing it. And that is exactly why all that opportunity is coming your way, is because you're just staying focused on that. Thanks for listening today, friends. If you enjoyed this call, do not forget to join Queer and Successful, the community on Facebook, as well as register to participate in these calls live every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern at successfulcall.com. See you next time. Bye.